Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by the very stylish Mr. Will, who got that good Gucci hat on. And we are back with the Sticky Floors podcast. Tonight, we are talking about the movie Sinners. Sinners is in theaters right now. It is, we're about to go with major spoilers for tonight's show. If you don't want to know everything, just hit the pause now, come back tomorrow or after you see it, and then watch this. If you don't mind being spoiled, then listen to this now. Either way, come back because we're about to break this down. We're really gonna spend some time with this one. Mr. Will, what's up with you tonight, brother? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling real good. Shout out to CJ for folks, for those that don't know, this first time listener, like we do a cutting room floor, like prep, whatever you want to call it. My man CJ, I've known this dude longer than I've not known him. So you're talking multiple decades. And this cat said, "Yo, you don't really know me. You think you know me?" And that joy had me cracking up because it was true. You know what I mean? Like, so the parallel to this movie is there's so many things that we're not going to be able to cover.
Yeah.
But we're really going to try and go in on this one. So yeah, definitely major spoilers. And I'm feeling good about just that aspect of being able to really get into this.
Yeah, we are, man. We're about to get into this, man. And look, today is April 20th is 4/20. And this is also Easter. So happy Easter to those who celebrate.
Yeah.
Happy Resurrection Sunday on this 4/20. If you were celebrating Easter last year, it was on March 31st. If you celebrate Easter next year, it's going to be on April 4th. We're not going to try to explain that. That's another discussion too, as well. Before we jump into the summary, man, just a real quick shout out. I want to give a shout out to a friend of the show, a friend of both of ours, Kareem Bond. Man, I'm wearing one of his T-shirts. This is a Vulgaric. Vulgaric is his label. This one's called Vulgaric Nights, which if you see it, it's the sun is coming out, which we thought was a perfect segue for a movie like Sinners.
Yes.
You can get his stuff on vulgaric.threadless. Vulgaric is vulgarik.threadless.com. That's where you can get his stuff, man. Premium shirts and sweatshirts. If you're one of those people that's like, the only thing that touches my skin is sunlight and silk, then these are the type of joints that you want to be wearing. So, once again, big shout outs to that. And with that said, Mr. Will, I'm kicking it over to you. Let's get into the Sinners, man.
Appreciate that, fam. Spoilers, folks. It's going to be a little bit longer than usual, but I just had a lot to say. Set against the haunting backdrop of the 1932 Mississippi Delta, Ryan Coogler's Sinners is a gothic American period horror tale steeped in blood, blues, and buried guilt. Michael B. Jordan commands the screen in a riveting dual role as twin brothers Smoke and Stack, former enforcers/gangsters who worked out of Chicago and seeking redemption by opening a juke joint in their hometown. With the help of their prodigious talented cousin Sammy, played by Miles Cannon, the twins aim to trade bullets for music, violence for soul. But on opening night, their dream is shattered when a pale stranger, the enigmatic Irish vampire Remick, played by Jack O'Connell, unleashes a wave of terror, turning revelers into the damned and forcing the brothers into a deadly reckoning with a supernatural evil and their own sins. Ryan Coogler masterfully blends Southern Gothic horror with psychological drama, using vampirism as a chilling metaphor for generational trauma, moral identity, and internal war. As Smoke grapples with the weight of fatherhood, his violent past, and the belief that he is unworthy of redemption, Sinners becomes a searing exploration of how we define ourselves by blood, by guilt, or by choice. With Michael B. Jordan delivering a career-defining performance and the Delta's eerie, sweat-soaked atmosphere pulsating beneath every frame, Sinners is a bold, genre-defining descent into the heart of darkness, where salvation may lie in the very thing Smoke fears most, facing the monster within.
Yo, there it is, man. Yo, do you remember that song "Sabali" by Nas and Damian
Yeah.
Marley?
That's my
Yeah, you
favorite
remember?
joint off that album, yo.
Right. Yo, you remember when Nas starts it off by saying, "Yeah, this one is for the people."
Yeah.
That's what this is, and then he says, "We about to go all the way in on this one."
Yeah.
That's what we about to do. We about to go all the way in on this one. So,
Yeah.
yo, first and foremost, man, I've seen this joint twice already, so I'm not gonna bury the lead. If you think, what is CJ gonna say? Is he gonna say no? CJ loves this movie, so I love it with cash, real money, not wooden nickels, like real money. I'm paying with, right? Right. Shout out to that scene in the movie too.
The seed, yeah.
Right. So right away, man, one of the things about this film is both times I saw it, theater packed.
Yeah.
Packed with people, all the way down to like the last seat where you got to break your neck to see the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing show out. So people are going to see this. This is the first weekend. I think it's about to do major numbers.
Oh, I agree. Wholeheartedly. I agree. When I went, and I'm in a different part of the country than CJ, it's a little bit amalgamation of everybody up in that joint, man. I mean, like old people, young people.
Yep.
Every ethnicity, every race, you name it, everybody was represented up in that spot, and it was full. And I mean, like, you know, the seats that nobody wants in the front of the screen.
Yeah.
I always,
right in the front.
I always make
the
sure.
breakneck
Yeah, I always
joints,
make sure. Yeah, I always make sure I do like I peep the whole set one time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, to know where like the exits and entrances are, because you never know.
Got to do it. Situational awareness 101.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But at the same token, just to get a feel for like, yo, what am I about to step into, whatever have you. And on top of that joint, people were cheering. Making comments throughout the movie. And I don't mean like the people you expect. I mean like, yo, there was this old white dude next to me, yo.
Yeah.
It's like, word? I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, it was an interactive experience, man. One of the guys next to me was like, "Don't do that. What you going out? Don't go outside. Don't let her back in." Like, you know, like that's like a definitely like a, when you go to movies with a lot of black people, like we talk with each other. It can be very annoying sometimes. It can. I'm saying that, but we definitely got into that. Man, this joint right here. So Ryan Coogler. So, you know, like if you've been following the show before, this is not the first Ryan Coogler film we've done. We did Black Panther. This is not also the first film we did with Michael B. Jordan. In fact, we started this show with Michael B. Jordan, very first episode, Creed 2. And we said, you know, Michael B. Jordan at that time was like the modern day action hero. This movie delivers on that. Like you said, man, great performance from Michael B. Jordan in this film, playing two brothers, Smoke and Stack, who have like that kind of weird, like the violent past to them, but are still now trying to like, at least on the surface, do things the right way.
Yo, first of all, shout out to Michael B. Jordan. I didn't, it's not just empty rhetoric when I say like this is a career defining performance for me. Now, my reason for that is, one, I've seen Jean-Claude Van Damme playing himself, like, and playing
Double Impact,
or whatever have you.
Double Impact. Yep.
And I've seen a couple other actors do the same thing. This is the first time where I thought like, yo, this is well done. Like you have two distinct personalities with two different Southern draws who have totally different interests, to the point where like they both acknowledge like, yeah, you've been looking out for me my entire life. Yeah. You ain't got no sense of vision. Like,
I love that line.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything about this was done, was well crafted, well intentioned, well done.
Yeah. And it's also, you know, we watch a lot of films, right? This film has elements of it that remind me of other films. So to me, the film that this reminds me a lot of is From Dusk Till Dawn, right? So you remember that?
Yeah.
You know, the Quentin Tarantino film, two brothers trapped in a place with all these vampires, right? So it definitely has that vibe to it, right? Structurally. But the fact that they're twins, and then the fact that it's Michael B. Jordan and it's black people and it's Mississippi and it's a juke joint, gives it a distinctly different flavor of film that I think makes it a unique standalone thing in the course of like the vampire genre in general, but even in the course of a movie like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yo, you're hitting on all cylinders from the gate. I gotta see if I can keep up, yo. First of all, shout out to my mom because when I heard juke joint, the first thing I thought of was Quincy Jones' Q's juke joint. That's the
Q's
first
Juice,
thing,
yes,
and that
yep,
was
yep,
one of my mom's favorite albums. And I was like, oh, so we headed back there, okay. And then I
yep,
started thinking of the Chitlin Circuit. Shout out to Little Brother, and I was like, oh, this is a homegrown soul food roots. And then the
yep,
Cotton, and I'm like, oh, that's my dad's people right there. Like my
yeah,
dad's my grandfather was a sharecropper. So like
yeah,
I could really, it resonated. Like I was like, oh, okay, I see where he's going. Like it inspired so much, instilled within me, man.
yeah.
Shout out
And I
to these
mean,
brothers.
absolutely. And the thing is that as a period film, it stays very well rooted in that. Some of my
Yeah.
favorite scenes in this are them just being in the car, driving through like that, just
Yeah.
expanse of the cotton fields, right? And just the
Yeah.
silence, except for their banter back and forth with each other. It's just, I saw it regular theater, I saw IMAX theater, just the expanse of it is just, it's just truly amazing, man. So
Yeah.
Smoke and Stack, right? Which great nicknames, by the way, too. They
Oh, ill.
come back to their hometown from Chicago, where they, was running being gangsters with Capone, with some money,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to start this juke joint, right? And now, of course, they need liquor, which they bought with them because they got the Irish liquor, Irish beer, and
Irish beer,
Italian wine.
Italian wine.
Italian wine, they got that. And of course, they need some catfish, right? So they need the catfish, right? They need the signs. They need some glasses. They need all this stuff. So the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the film is like really about them sort of getting all their stuff, and
Yeah.
it's about them. It's really introducing the audience to these characters that are really important in the film, man. And one of the things that I'll say I like, and this is not even getting into my cake, I like the slow burn of this film. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a while before you get to the actual action because they're really setting up the characters and the relationships.
And not all movies execute that well.
They
This is
don't, right?
one example that does it, where you have a sense, like I did, of familial connection. You have
Hmm.
a sense of reminiscing about stories being told, and they even give the breakdown in the beginning from shamans all the way to griots.
Yes,
Like so,
good introduction. Yes, yep.
so you definitely you get a sense of like, oh, so there's some not only nostalgia, but there's some history. There is some traditional passing down via a oral history.
Hmm.
You're also caught up in like just the overall momentum of the movie, where train just doesn't start off like boom,
Yeah,
100 miles per hour. Like there's a
yeah,
slow chugga chugga chugga, but like you hear the whistle, you feel the vibrations. Have you ever been on a train ride? And
yeah.
you get this like longing for yesteryear, but you also feel connected to the present, and you have the insight, the foresight to see into the future.
Yeah, and the movie does that because it also kind of starts with Sammy walking into his father's church, right, clutching that piece
Yep.
of that guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a little like the little scream things
Mm-hmm.
that they do in there. But then the movie kind of just evolves into this thing. So you see Sammy, you get an idea from his background. Then you're introduced to Delroy Lindo. It's amazing. Yo, shout outs to West Indian
Yeah.
Archie
Archie.
continuing to cook as Delta Slim in this joint, just bringing like
Underrated.
immediately.
Underrated.
Right. Underrated actor, owns every scene he's in.
Every
First,
scene.
first of all, he plays being drunk the whole movie. So
Mm-hmm.
the whole movie, on top of everything else, he's gotta go through all the emotions of being afraid and violent and all that kind of stuff while being drunk the whole time. Because literally from the time you see him in the beginning of the movie to his final scene when he sacrifices himself, spoiler alert, he's like drunk.
No. There's a part where he's like, "No, I'm sober right
Oh
now.
yeah, right.
You better eat. You better eat.
He does. Right, eat that garlic.
You better eat."
Right, right.
Yo,
That's true. That's true. He does. Because if a bunch of vampires outside your establishment trying to get in to kill you doesn't sober you up, nothing will.
my man said, "No. I'm straight. It's just I had a lot of this alcohol. I have nothing to eat. The garlic's
Right,
messing with my stomach. I'm good. I ain't one
right,
of them."
right. So you get Delta Slim, right? Then you get Mary at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So Mary being the old fling girlfriend, lover of Smoke, of Stack, and their relationship is all complicated as you would expect it to be. And I like how Sammy is like trying to figure out the whole time, is she really white or not?
Mm-hmm. But we do that though. We do that, yo.
We
They'll
do,
beep him
yeah,
like there's
yeah,
something to you. I can see your features. You ain't got
yeah.
normal white people features. Like you got
Right,
something else in you.
right. And it's ironic because Hailee Steinfeld in real life, her grandfather is Black and Korean, right? So like
And
she's playing a
that's why they
character.
mentioned it in the story.
Yeah, very good writing that happens there, man. So
Not
I want to spend a
coincidence.
little time. I want to spend a little time on this next character. So Annie. So the character of Annie comes into the film, and right away she's established as a practitioner of hoodoo, right? And so you see that based on she mentions that she gave Smoke like this medicine packet, right? That keeps him safe, which is a point that comes up like 2 or 3 more times in the film, right? So you know that. You also then find out that she and Smoke had a child and the child passed away tragically, right? And the thing about her is that she immediately kind of positions the film in a different way from the juxtaposition that you think it's going to be, where you think it's like the blues as the alleged devil music versus the
Mm-hmm.
church and gospel, which is God's music. And now in the middle of that, you drop hoodoo in, which has its own spiritual connotations and backgrounds to it, but is decidedly not denominational when it comes to Christianity or to anything else. And so her character, I think, just in putting that kind of character in, immediately offers like a broader perspective on what the movie can even offer to begin with.
First of all, brilliant breakdown by CJ of her character. Even he captures, for those that haven't seen it, her physical essence too, because you have the non-traditional
Oh,
love
great point.
interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
say that part. Say that part, man. Say it. Nah, say it, because people need to hear it, man. Because it's not always
yeah,
gotta be light skin with long hair,
yeah,
man. Say it.
and that's my point. The non-traditional accepted, main flame, their love interest. She is not, and
Yes.
this is no shade to these actresses, but she's not Halle Berry. She's not
Yep.
Robin Thicke's, and I just can't remember her name, but Robin Thicke's ex-wife, I can't remember her name
Yeah.
right now.
What are you talking about?
Um,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't fit into that mold. She is the antithesis. She's more Lauryn Hill. She is more India Ari. She
Yep.
is more Macy Gray, meaning earthy. Her skin
Yeah.
tone is dark. Her complexion is
Very.
dark.
Mm-hmm.
She's more robust. Some would even say voluptuous.
Yep.
She is more just the regular person you'd see in your family. Everyone has
Yeah.
one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that was definitely intentional, and there's no question about that. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it also lends itself, being that, oh, here's Michael B. Jordan, this so-called Hollywood heartthrob. He could have any
Sex
woman he
symbol.
wants,
Mm-hmm.
and look at the women. And again, no shade. Look at the women that he's dated or known to
Mm-hmm.
have been affiliated with in his own personal life.
Yep.
So it's a definite dope contrast. It's inspiring. It's hopeful. It's I would say audacious, because I don't
Yeah.
think too many women or men would be willing to accept that. Like, he's dating her. That's the
Yeah.
one.
And their chemistry is real. Their chemistry
Mm.
works as well. Ironically, their chemistry works as well as Stack's with Mary's.
Yo,
Which
and that's
to your
dope. That
point,
contrast in itself there too.
which to your point with Michael B. Jordan playing this role where one of them is with a hoodoo practitioner, dark skinned hoodoo
Mm-hmm.
practitioner, voluptuous woman. The other one is with this thin white woman, also attractive woman, fine, but very different in terms of what they look like.
Oh,
And
and
he's conveying like that emotion to both of them, and the
mm-hmm.
chemistry is like it's really there, right?
Definitely.
And that just the casting of this. I know I'm about to steal one of your favorite things, man. The casting amazing on this
Yeah.
because of those juxtapositions, because of how that's set up, and right away, Mary. I mean, I'm sorry, Annie is given some credibility as someone who understands the world that people don't normally see. So she's
Mm-hmm.
aware of the spiritual world. She's able to give people things that can protect them. For those who practice certain traditional African spiritual systems, you'll notice that the necklace that she wears around her neck looks
Mm.
very much like Aleke's, right? And so she's definitely the stand-in for those traditional spiritual systems that are not Christianity, but also are valid and legitimate, not only to Black people at that time, but also even to this day.
And we gotta give a shout out to this actress. Her name is, and forgive me if I mispronounce her name, Wunmi Mosaku.
Yeah.
Definitely shout out to her because she delivers a very commanding performance when she speaks and when she's on the scene. Yeah, I don't know if you could use this for females, but she's charismatic, man. Like
and authority, and she's an authority in the film, which is really
why you
dope
gotta ask to come inside.
Right,
you've been coming in and out all day.
Right. Why are you talking to him? I'm talking to you. Right. Right. Very much in her zone. Right. And also an actress that we're familiar with from Lovecraft Country, right, which she was in. Also Loki. Also Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you've seen those movies, you've seen her a couple times. Also always in this commanding role of somebody who's getting stuff done. So it fits for her here.
And we got to backtrack for a minute. First of all, that opening scene where, you see in orange, in red, in yellow colors with a black backdrop, dope. At the same time, the other thing too that I want to point out is the snake is placed upon the trunk of where the alcohol
we're talking about
is.
You see the snake. Yep.
Yeah. So the snake, for those that don't know, I'm sure you do, but for those our younger audience who may not be aware, snake going back to Adam and Eve, tempting alcohol. There's also plenty of Christian churches, small home-based churches that practice with the utilization of a snake in their ceremonial purposes, whatever have you, and using alcohol to cleanse, purify things as well. Other thing I wanted to bring up too is when they're going to the train station to actually, get to survey the land, but also to pick up West Indian
Delta
Archie.
Slim. Yeah, Delta Slim. Yeah.
When they go there, you'll notice there's white people there. There's Asian people in the community. There's also black people, which is the predominant. But all of these people seem to interact through commerce, through trade, and they have an understanding of like, we normally don't mess with you, but for when it comes to business, this is we all have basic and common needs. Even the guy, the Klansman, who's like, there ain't no Klan here no more.
Oh man, was it Hogworth? What's his? Yeah. No, while you looking it up,
the actor is it is It's Hogwood, and the actor's name is David Maldonado, and even he looks like the stereotypical white hat, white suit, Boss Hog looking, spitting tobacco, obese, rotund dude.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm glad you brought it up, because he's definitely the ancestor to Boss Hog from the Dukes of Hazzard, man. He's definitely the ancestor to that man, right? So that everything, like when I saw it, I was like, is it Boss Hog's dad? His grandpappy? It's got to be somebody like that, right? So so he's there too. And I also want to say, and this does get into my cake, but you'll notice that when he pulls up, there's a vulture that's around him, right? And the vulture being the symbol of death, right? Which you see again later over the house that Remick breaks into that has 3 vultures sitting over the top of it. So the symbolism is there and it's very strong.
There are so many metaphors. We could just spend the entire show based upon those metaphors, and everything is intentional from the wardrobe, because the brothers are wearing red and black. Notice who wears red with the oversized brim.
Red and blue,
And notice who wears the blue joint. And everyone talks about the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. I'm just saying everything about this movie. Spoiler alert. I'm giving this joint 5 popcorn. Arguably
5 boxes already. Right.
Already. In case cats. And I wanted to refrain and withdraw. So CJ, the floor is yours.
No, look, we're doing this together, man. But look, like you said, one of them's wearing red, one of them's wearing blue. Obviously, that made me think about the Star Wars references: red, dark side of the Force, blue, light side of the Force. And it's not so much that Stack and Smoke are so obviously one is good and one is evil, right? Because they both have their different things about them, right? Stack is more like almost a conniver and a manipulator. Like he gets people to do things that they wouldn't do through money. Whereas with Smoke is more of legitimate, but he's also the muscle. Like Smoke is the one who is willing to hurt people like at the drop of a dime. And he shows that when the 2 brothers try to rob his truck and he shoots one of them, like, because he got to protect his rep, right? But it's like, he's definitely the force. And whereas, whereas Stack will get you with money and the manipulation.
Yeah, that might be too strong of a word for me. I would think that Smoke is like, yo, I'm with the smoke. I'm with the...
I want all the smoke, right?
Yo, it's on site. Like, yo, we could get it. You know what I'm saying? And whereas Stack is more of like, hey, diplomacy, let's use my words. If that doesn't
Yeah,
work, then
very
yeah,
silver
I'm with it
tongue.
too, because they were
Yeah,
both in the war. They both comment like, yo, we could get it popping. But,
yeah.
and the way they circle the Hogwood, and he's
Hogwood,
like,
yeah.
woo, yo, that scene is so dope on so many levels, from a cinematography aspect, from the
Mm-hmm.
cameraman and the focus, and then the drawback, the focusing of the light all around and utilizing the darkness. Notice who comes out of the dark from behind, whereas who's in
Yeah.
the light, and it always
Yep.
shifts, so that these
Yep.
brothers have this commonality where, look, we are one and the same, yet we are two separate and distinct individuals. And they have this yin yang balance that is so uncanny. I can't think of any movie that hits on all cylinders like this, man.
Yeah.
I am befuddled.
It's really good, and that scene and just the interplay between Smoke and Stack, and shout out to the CGI, because it really makes you think you're looking at two
Mm-hmm.
people who look the same instead of the same person
Like
twice.
that
But
cigarette
like they,
seed. Woo.
yeah, they're very like intermingled. You can tell that. Like that's why Smoke said when Stack gets killed, he said Smoke was the best thing about me. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That's why he feels that way, because like that brotherly relationship is just enforced, right? So all right, so you got Annie, who's like one of the characters, and there's two other people I really wanted to spend some time with. The other
Please
one
do.
I want
Please
to I
do.
want to spend some time on Remick, right? So Remick, right, the vampire, the Irish vampire. So we see him in the beginning being chased down by the Choctaw Indians. Shout outs to them, who tried to save them white folks in their house, but they wouldn't listen. So they got what they got. Yo, shout out, and and the Choctaw, they went home. They was like, "Is he in there with you?" He is. Look, you made a mistake. Peace, and got back on that horse, and they was gone. Like, it's nighttime. We don't want that them type of problems. We're gonna be all right. But
Yo.
like, his character is so he's so smooth, man. The actor that plays this role is like similar sort of to Stack. He definitely does things with his words, and
Mm-hmm.
the how he kind of gets to people, and everything to him is about the establishment of community and the
Yes.
establishment of harmony and love and all of these things that is not actually what he's offering, but what he knows people want to hear.
Yo, and the thing for me is, sometimes you can get far more with honey than you can with. So in this
Vinegar or
case,
bullets for
that's what
violence.
I don't know what we could say. So because of YouTube. So, but my point is that the way that he skillfully masters the art of negotiation, both
Hmm.
brothers, mind you, because even with Smoke, where he's like with the little girl, and he's like, "Look, I want you to come sit in the car, in the truck for me," and you honk,
Hmm.
and he's like trying to teach her about numbers, and he says to her like, "Look, I'll give you ten
Yeah, when
cents," and
Smoke is
she and
negotiating
she
with the lady. Yeah,
and
with the
she
little
and
girl.
she
Yeah.
re-
Yep.
she readily accepts. And he's like, "Now wait a minute, now you could have done this, that, and the third." And he's like,
Hmm.
50 cents, and she's like, 25 cents, and then all of a sudden he's
He's
like,
like 20 is the
twenty
most I
cent,
can
and
do.
they got,
Yeah.
yeah, and then they shake on it,
Hmm.
and just the skillfulness of trying to instill in the younger generation as far as like knowing your value.
Yeah.
And now
Smoke
I
does that definitely.
juxtapose that with Ryan Coogler understanding his value. Like, he has been on fire, in fuego. This cat is
Hmm.
off the I haven't seen any movie that he hasn't done that hasn't been a 4 out of 5 for me
He's cooking.
at all.
Yeah, he's
Like,
cooking.
he's cooking with fish grease. He cooking with that
Yeah.
catfish.
Getting it
Yeah,
popping, as
grease.
as they
Yeah.
say back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, yo, he gets it. So
Yeah.
at that same token, now he gets to get his creative uh product back in 25
Hmm.
years, which is
Yep.
not normal. You know what I mean? Like, the equivalent would be like owning your masters,
Yeah.
especially for a
Exactly. That's
movie.
exactly what it. Yeah. Exactly what he's getting back. Which I think the only what I read was like Quentin Tarantino, ironically enough, also has a deal like that on Once Upon a Time
Mm-hmm.
in America, where he gets the rights back to it as well. So I just want to go back to Remick's character. So Remick, the lead vampire, right? And he obviously starts corrupting and biting and turning people, right? And it's like, but here's the thing though, right? I think one of the more interesting scenes is when he's outside the door, right, of the juke joint, and he's basically saying to Smoke, Hogwood and his men were going to come
Oh
back and
yeah,
kill you
and
the
they knew
next
this.
morning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the truth is that no matter how much money you get, no matter
Mm-hmm.
no matter where you live, no matter how many places, when they decide they want to take it from you, they will. Right now, if you come
Mm-hmm.
with me, you don't have to worry about that anymore, and we'll go get Hogwarts together. Right. The ability of that character and what he says in that moment to step out of him being white in that scene and
Mm-hmm.
now present being a vampire as being different to it while still threading that needle of the tension between black people and white people in that time and even to this day is an amazing little detail and scene that you could see some of them considering that. And even online, like I see people online saying like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe people should take that offer because it's something about the idea of what does it mean when you know I might be locked in this struggle and this battle for the rest of my life. And everything that I have might get sacrificed as a result of it.
And that's so tough, man. And CJ reminded me earlier that we are not a monolith. And there are those who don't necessarily vote for their interests or their
Yeah, of course.
self-interests.
Of course.
At simultaneously, sometimes we got to touch the stove in order to understand that it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, matter of fact, I know that scene was intentional because,
Had to be.
him
Yep.
being Irish, at one point in this time in this country, Irish people were devalued. There
Yes.
was
Mm-hmm.
they were not given any self-respect, dignity. They were only allowed to work within certain parameters,
Yep.
utilizing their skills. They were able to overcome certain things, but they had to use, in this case, crime or dehumanizing and debasing someone that was viewed even beneath them. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a 180, it's a coming home, a full circle movement where, yeah, sure, we don't like the Klan, because the Klan didn't just kill black people. They
Right.
killed a bunch of people, you know what I mean? But the primary focus was black people. Let's not get that twisted. At the same token, he's also terrorizing black people. He's also inflicting carnage. So the
Right.
irony here is it's not lost where it's like,
Yeah.
but at the same token, you're over here biting chunks out of my brother's left shoulder. I mean, right
Right.
shoulder, man. Like, you
Right.
corrupted his woman, which is
Yeah.
also another thing where, like, oftentimes, if there were an interracial couple, the woman was now viewed as, if she was white, as a race traitor, or even the male if it was with a woman, a black woman, whatever have you. Otherwise, you wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have these laws of the inability to cross state lines or
Yeah.
to
Or to be married.
intermarriage and
Yeah.
things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we got to keep these things made to the forefront as well. Highlight these things, keynote these things as well.
And that's another brilliant point of the movie because it's really giving you a historical reference without beating you over the head with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking about the Klan, when Stack says to Mary, like, are you sure they're not from Little Rock? Like where
Yeah.
one of the big massacres of black people happened historically. Right. So just
Mm-hmm.
making like those little reference points is really Ryan Coogler's way of educating you even about like the juke joint and the setting of the times. And even in that town scene, if you notice, all the white people in the town are on one side of the street, all the black people in the town are on the other
Mm-hmm.
side of the street. The Asian people have the business that works between.
Yeah.
Very
And
very 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 neat little detail that's
And you
added
notice
in that scene.
the Asian business is in a black community, so that shouldn't be
Yo,
lost. Fast
very
forward to
right. And then
today,
think
that's all I'm
right, and
saying.
then think
Plus,
of
let me
and
just throw
Ryan
this in there
Coogler
real.
comes from okay, yeah, go ahead.
I also want to throw in, just for those that don't know, it's Loving versus Virginia is what I was alluding
Yep.
to, hoping that others would pick up on it. But CJ, I
Mhm.
digress.
Yeah, but no, I mean, even like you said, like, and then you look at Ryan Coogler's background coming from California, like where
Mm-hmm.
the corner store was there, and the corner stores are ran by people in the neighborhood. Just all of those elements and details that you see in this film have a historical underpinning to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remick is basically saying to the black people at that door, right? You can have a life filled with pain that ends with death, or you can stay with me and have a death with no real life. Both of those are terrible. Both of those are terrible options, right? So like the Capadonna lyric, I came to the fork in the road and went straight.
It's great.
That's what they decide to do, right? They decide, nah, we're not gonna go with you, but we're gonna try to fight our way out of this, right? And And now I want to take a minute, right, to just
But
come
they
back
were
to like
tempted. They were
they
tempted,
were,
though.
some of them
Remember, they're
were,
at the
yes,
door.
some of
They
them
were at
were,
the
yeah,
even
some of
Smoke.
them
He
were,
was at
right,
the door, and he was like, "Yo,
right,
you come with me, man. We straight,
right,
brother. We could be brothers
right,
again."
yes, and then they say, then Remick says, "You give us Sammy, we'll let you all live," right?
Woo! And Sammy starts
So
to walk forward.
he does. He's willing to sacrifice
It's like,
himself, right? Because he feels like, hey, I'll let everybody live. So now I want to spend a little bit of time on Sammy because Sammy is a character in the film, but he's also a example of a real life person, right? So some people may be familiar with Robert Leroy Johnson, right? Great jazz singer, great
blues.
blues performer, right? Who is alleged to have made a deal with the devil to
Mm-hmm.
become this great blues musician, right? Now, I do have to just say, as a disclaimer on this, the story works that because he was not a good player, took a year and then practiced and then came back, that he made some kind of deal. And they say that he said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot that is said about the idea of what it means to make a deal with the devil and what does it mean to make a deal at the crossroads and
Sell
who
your
is the man
soul.
at the crossroads and what does it mean to sell your soul and
Great
all of
movie
those
too, by
things.
the way.
Right. And there's actually a Netflix documentary about the story. So if you ever want to check it out, I think it's called Devil at the Crossroads that talks about his particular story. But in real life, this particular blues musician was killed by being poisoned by the husband of a woman that he was messing with, right? So
Allegedly.
Sam, allegedly, so Sammy's character, right? So Sammy is like a good kid, preacher boy Sammy, right? Who's got, of course, the authoritative fatherly preacher dad, and then he's got his two cousins who are like, sort of scumbags, right? And he's in the middle. He's in the middle of them, right? Then he gets into this thing, this with the woman. What's her name? Francine or Ferline or something like that,
It's
right?
Perline. Perline.
Perline, right? Who's a married woman, right? So that gives
Or
you some basis for the character. But he
yeah, man.
also has this amazing gift where when he plays his guitar, he is able to open up this expanse between the past, the present, and the future, right? And I'm gonna save it for
Dope
my
scene.
cake.
Dope
Yeah,
scene.
that's one of my yeah. I'm gonna get into that for a second, but because of that gift, Remick sees that and Remick wants that. And Remick wants Sammy because Sammy is going to give Remick the chance to see what he can't, which is his ancestors, the Irish people that he knows that are gone that he can't access because as a vampire, he is stuck in the material world forever without the heaven that he would have, or that other people would have when they pass away.
First of all, if it sounds like if CJ paid me to compliment him, he did. But this, this dude is hitting because one, it harkens back to when the indigenous people are chasing Remick to that house, and he just
Mm-hmm.
pops out of nowhere and he's burning and stuff, right?
Yep.
He's carrying gold instead of silver, and some people
Mm-hmm.
might even theorize that Judas was the first vampire. All right, so that's one.
Yep. Yeah, like
Two,
Dracula 2000 said that was the plot, right? Yep. I know the movie reference, man. I do this also.
two. In the Black Hills, it's rumored that there was so much tremendous gold, silver, jewels, and et cetera, that the Cherokee and the Blackfoot would fight to the very end to protect it. Not because they owned the land, but because of the spiritual connection related to what they were given. And thus the pact made that, like, hey, protect this at all costs because this is of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
Chief amongst all of that, though, is the interconnectedness of the people trying to drive out evil because that's their sworn duty to do so. There are
Yep.
certain people that are guardians and protectors who are,
Mm-hmm.
they're tasked with, hey, this is what you must do at all costs. But they do have the wherewithal and the peace of mind to say, hey, look, common sense says, look, we don't fight a battle on terrain that is not native to our own or where it's
Mm-hmm.
disadvantageous for us to continue to do so. So it's not
Yep.
them being cowards. No, it's not
No.
cowardice at all. They're
Mm-mm.
strategically retreating to regroup and fight another day. But at the same token, they understand who they're dealing with. So he tells the woman in his native language, yo, peace and blessings to you. May God protect you at all costs. So it's
Yes.
almost like
Yeah.
it's deliberately done. It's so skillfully and masterfully done, where it's like, look, we understand that you're a Christian. We accept some of those beliefs in an exchange of ideas, and we are also spiritual people too. Your
Yes.
religion may protect you, so
Yeah. You're
therefore I'm
cooking
going
now.
to extend that to you, and therefore, you know, we're going to leave you in peace as we came in peace.
Yeah.
Definitely dope, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you're touching on like an amazing through line in this film, which
Mm,
is religion and spirituality and the material world and where those things
mm-hmm,
intersect, because it takes all of those things for, I would say, for Smoke and Sammy, who ultimately are the only ones that survive, for them to get out.
mm-hmm.
It takes everything. It takes Smoke having that thing around
Yeah,
his
that
neck
talisman.
that
Yeah.
that Annie
That,
gave him, which you see later on in the film. Every time that Stack wants to bite him, he can't,
yeah.
because it's around his neck. And when
Mm-hmm.
Cornbread tried to bite him, it didn't work because he had it
Nope.
around his neck. And at the end, when he finally gets killed by the Klans guys, it's because he took it
He
off and
took it
broke it.
off.
So you got that. So they needed that. And yes, also, Sammy did need the words of his father, and he did need that
Mm,
guitar that was sitting in the church, which I think is why the guitar hurt Remick so much, was because I'm sure his daddy was in there praying over that, probably praying that his son wouldn't take it. But because
mm-hmm.
of that, it was spiritually charged in a different way, so it could hurt him. And then they also need the bullets and the guns and the violence that Smoke and Stack and all the others knew about. Basically, black people need all them things to survive. That's basically what it is. And you can't just dissuade any of those things, because you need them all in order for you to make it out of this thing alive. And that's how they do it.
Yo, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind when CJ's saying all this is Busta Rhymes saying "powerful impact, boom from the dragon," and hearing it in surround sound. All right, that's one. Two, I think that this movie is so gripping. It's because everyone can relate to it on some level. So if
Yeah.
you're a Christian, or if you're a Muslim, or if you're a Jew, or if you're a practitioner of Judaism or Hoodooism, or whatever it is, whatever your religious mantra may be, maybe you're even agnostic. Who knows? Somewhere along the lines, you can pick up a nugget or two or three or four from here, from the
Yeah.
standpoint of, you know what, this interconnectedness, we have one planet, we're all sharing, we must come together, we're all borrowing ideas from each other. It's not coincidence that all these people are thrust here when they hadn't seen each other. And Mary says, I just buried my mother. Would have thought that you would have sent flowers. And Stack is like, I told you not to come around, whatever, whatever. But it's
Mhm.
Smoke who hammers home the
Yes.
point. We sent flowers all the time. What you
All the
talking about?
time.
What
Yeah.
you
All
talking about?
when she was alive to smell them. All
Yep.
the time. Yeah.
No, no, no. That's the key point. When
Yeah.
she was alive to smell them. I've seen very grandiose gestures of flowers all throughout the spot, but that person is no longer there,
Hmm.
metaphorically and physically, literally. Like, that person is no longer there. Those flowers are no longer there. They're just for everyone else. And it's kudos for everyone to come together to be able to grieve harmoniously in a constructive manner. But at the same token, this movement to have people smell their flowers, smell their roses while they're alive. Shout out to Noriega and DJ FM.
Give people their flowers. Yep.
Flowers while
Yep.
they're here to smell them. Dope on
Yep.
so many levels.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, there's just so many things in this film, and so many rich little points of emphasis. And as you said at the beginning, there's no way we can cover everything. The movie,
No,
if the movie was 2.5 hours long, it would take us 5 hours to get through all the
easily,
notes
easily.
and all the pages and notes and things that we have, man. But let's get into our cake, man. The things that we really liked about the film, and some of it might be some things that we mentioned before. I'll jump in first, and then you can flow after that. I mentioned at the beginning, the peaceful expanse of the Mississippi and the corn, the cotton fields, and even like the constant reference to the idea of like I got to make my quota. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just that education on what sharecropping actually was.
Oh
Not
yeah.
a job, but still an indentured servitude to
Mm-hmm.
someone else, right? Like, just without like beating you over the head with it, it just reminds you that that's what that situation was. Shout out to Ryan Coogler for including that. Um, the sound of the lynchings. So in the scene where Delta Slim and Stack and Sammy are in the car with cornbread, or without cornbread, and Delta Slim is telling a story about his friend who got killed. You don't see it, but in the background when you're listening, you can hear the situation happening. You can hear him screaming. You can hear him being hung. And by the way, he is lynched by being, hung by his neck. And these vampires are killing people by biting them on their necks. Nice little detail and connection on what the lynching actually is. Once again, shout out for that point. The scene, now we talked about this before, right? We could share this together, right? When Sammy plays the blues and he's playing it, and then you see the brother come in with the electric guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see the DJ, and then you see the rapper, and then you see the drummers, and then you see all of these things. That moment, that may be one of the best scenes I have ever seen filmed in a movie in my life. It gives me goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah, that's not hyperbole either. And I would even go so far as to say that's Jimi Hendrix, that's Robert Johnson, and that's LL Cool J.
Yeah.
And I don't even like LL like that.
How about?
And I don't even like
How
LL.
about that? How about that? How about that? Look, and then since you mentioned Jimi Hendrix, right? How about Jimi Hendrix passed away at 27 years old?
That's why I said it.
Just like Robert Leroy Johnson, just like Amy Winehouse, just like Kurt Cobain, just like people that are in this club that musicians call, I think it's like the 27 Club, of people who passed away in their at 27, who were also these like extraordinary musicians and talents, but died way before their time. So you didn't pick up on that by accident, because the reference points are there. That is just such an incredible scene, because it just shows like the history of continuum, not only of music, but of people and of culture. And to put that in a scene, it's mind blowing, man. That scene right there is worth you going to the movies to see it.
Alone.
That's gonna be one of those YouTube clips like 5 years from now that's just always on and run on rotation. It's gonna be like that. Just an amazing thing, man. All right. So this last I'm gonna spend a couple seconds on, but just please just indulge me for a second. Yeah. All right. So, and you talked about this, and it's so true. Ryan Coogler is so thoughtful and so intentional about the references and the nuggets that are there. We talked about the vultures being there, the vultures being the sign of the bad omen. We talked about the idea that, or we didn't talk about this, but the idea that the juke joint is right by this electrical post, which looks like a cross.
Yeah.
which looks like a cross, right? The fact that Stack's name is Elijah being a name that means Yahweh is my God, right? And also a prophet, and also Elijah, like Elijah Poole, like Elijah Muhammad. It's not by accident that that's that character's name, and that all these religious references are coming around that. The idea that, I mean, like it's something we all know, but the idea that the sun kills vampires, the sun rises, the sun, the S-U-N or the S-O-N rises and kills all the vampires on Sunday for a movie that came out on Good Friday, and we're doing this on Resurrection Sunday. Come on, dog.
Not coincidence.
Look, they're in their bag, man, the whole time, man. We talked about the consecrated guitar that's there. How about the difference between when Sammy is playing music inside the juke joint, he's playing it, everybody's dancing with each other, everybody's on their own vibe. But when Remick is outside doing his song, everybody's on his vibe. If you notice it, their thing is a choreographed group dance to celebrate him. Whereas when Sammy is performing, it's a music for everybody to do their own thing. Just, man, this thing is so killer. All right. Like, couple more things. How about Mary and Grace? Once again,
names.
Mary, their names, right? Mary and Grace, right? Mary goes outside, meets the vampires, gets bitten by them, which messes everybody up. And then Grace lets all the vampires in, which is what gets everybody killed in the first place, which is crazy. The only paint they have for the doors is red, which is kind of like a reverse Passover note. All we got is red paint.
All we got is red paint.
Right. And the red is supposed to keep things away, but in this case, it attracts them to you. And then, of course, the vampire is the culture vulture. Just like, shout outs to Dave Dash, who's been saying that forever. But even down to Remick telling Sammy when he's got him in the water, I want your stories, I want your songs, I want them from me. Dog,
Think about the
man.
music industry and who owns the music industry.
Thank you,
Great.
mate. Now your stuff is coming out now.
We here with it. We here with it.
Right. We here. Right. Think about all the points that they're hitting on, man. And that's just what we're saying. Like, imagine if you had a chance to really sit down and watch this movie at home and you could stop it every second.
Rewind.
Right. The review that the nuggets that you'll see in this movie a year from now, it's gonna be amazing, man.
It's like the Wu-Tang double CD.
How about it? That's why you still listen, man. I just listened to that again last week, man. You still listen. Come on, man.
Yo, you ain't even got to go to school.
On, man.
Just pick up the Wu-Tang double CD. You get all the education you need.
Right. Right. That's it. That's all it is. All you need is right there, man. All right. So last thing in my cake, man, is the ending scene. Now, so there's two cut scenes in the end, right? So Ryan Coogler also hit you with the Marvel style, where it's like if you didn't stay to the end, you missed these.
Yeah.
Right. So the last scene we see, Sammy gets older. He becomes the blues musician that he wanted to be. He's in Chicago, ironically, right? And Stack and Mary are still alive because unlike all the rest of the vampires that got killed, they got away. Now we talked about this during the post-production or the pre-production. Like, that scene for me is so moving. And the reason why is that in that moment when Sammy says to them, that was the best day of my life until the night fell and all this bad stuff happened. And he asked Stack if that was the same for you. I'm sorry, he asked, Stack. And Stack tells him, that's the last day I saw my brother. And it's the last day I saw sunshine.
And they flash to both of them standing together and the sun going down, got their arms around each other.
Right. I mean, that is such a powerful scene, man, because Stack and Mary and Sammy, they all understand the blues so much in that moment because they've all lost something that they can't get back. Their lives, their brother.
You're gonna have me call my brothers now.
Yo, they lost their lives, their brother, and their innocence. Even if they continue to live, they lost so much in that moment, and they all remember it. That's why they want the blues still. That's why the blues matter so much to our people, because it tells the story of what we've lost and then what we're here to talk about through our perseverance.
You have me start crying. I ain't messing with you, man.
Yo, that dog, come on, man. Like, I mean, like, I could go on for days. That's the cake, man. That's what I got, man.
Look, CJ said essentially, if you don't have a soul, this movie ain't for you, y'all. You shouldn't even be here. You one of the undead, man. And the fact that Mary says that the souls are twined into each other and there's like interlocking, so that's preventing them from ascending, and the only way we can free them.
And he tells them that. Yep.
Look, man, I'm just going to point out one thing because I liked everything about this movie. I have no hate. It's going to be all CJ on that part. I like everything about this movie. I don't have any subtle jabs. I don't have anything that I do differently. Everything had to happen for this movie to work.
The way it did.
Do I normally want the protagonist to win? Of course. I don't want anybody to die. That's like the hero in this.
Yeah.
But if somebody had to die and had to be, I wanted it to be this way. I will point out, though, this is the one thing I wanted to point out. He says to Bo's wife, he says to her, look, we got a deal if you throw in those white flowers. Smoke says this to her while they're making their deal at the joint. And he's trying to convince her to make this sign last minute, et cetera, et cetera. And he says to her, look, you throw in them white flowers and you got yourself a deal. And Grace is cool with it. And shout out to Lee Jung-Gi Lee on her powerful performance. Because I ain't gonna lie to you. She did her thing, man. Like, she was very, she's
in my cake and hate. Yeah. she gonna be in both for me. Yeah.
Yo, she did her thing in this, man. So I definitely got to give her a shout out by name. But he specifically chose those flowers, and you didn't know why at the time. Like, you're like, why? Right. What does he want the flowers out? Why is this? Right. Why is this the thing that's going to broker this deal?
Right.
White flowers symbolize purity, innocence, new beginnings, and respect. And he goes to where you just see an unmarked grave. I ain't gonna lie to you. in my dumbness, I was like, oh, it's probably his brother or a family member.
Father, mother,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. Yep.
Like, I'm not thinking that. And they don't show initially what you later see, which is a small handprint on a stone. So
On the
I'm just
stone, yes,
so
yes,
I'm just sitting
yes.
there like, all right, well, maybe it's his pops. They got this love-hate relationship, whatever,
Yep.
whatever. And he goes in, and I'm thinking Mary is his mom. I'm not thinking
Mm-hmm.
that's the love interest at the time.
Oh,
Like,
Annie, you mean Annie?
yeah,
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 you mean
sorry,
Annie.
yeah,
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 Annie.
Annie, sorry. And I'm just thinking like, or that's like the local woman that everybody
Mm-hmm.
goes to, for if they want to root or whatever, perform,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. But when they start coming, and he says, "I still love you. I,
Yeah.
I, I came back even though I didn't want to, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera." Then I was like, "Oh, there's something more to them, et cetera, et cetera." Like there's a lot to this. I say all that to say, them coming back home when they didn't want to, but they acknowledge it's better to deal with the devil that you know than the
Yes. How
devil
about
that
that
you
line?
don't. And
How about
them
that line?
intentionally saying it that way,
Yeah.
man, that those sequences symbolize so much more for me internally than I could ever convey. Words wouldn't do it justice. Just know that this movie is dope. I liked everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about that last scene when Smoke sees Annie and his baby, right?
Oh,
And he sees them when he's saying there and that's how you know he's dying.
mm-hmm.
But he sees them and she's like, "You got to put that cigarette out. I don't want to get the smoke on the baby." It's like that. Come on, dog. Listen.
Even
So
when he
you make me
murks dude, he's sitting
right,
down there. He's like, "Yo,
right,
let me go. I got money. You got my
right,
money." I
right,
kid you not, CJ. Everybody in
right.
the audience said, "No, you have his money." And
Yeah,
that joint hit in staccato inside the
yeah.
movie theater.
Yeah, yeah.
Yo,
Well, look, Hogwood could not survive. If Hogwood would have made it, I would have read. This would have been a 4.5 film. If he would have,
even
like, when
his
he finally got that dude, I was like, thank you, because he can't live. That dude
no,
cannot
no,
live, man.
even his
He could
name,
not. Hog.
Hogwood.
Yeah, man. Look, man, he the granddaddy of the Boss Hog, man. We talked about
And,
it.
and I mean, like,
Look,
Hog would do it, not
right.
Hogwood. Like, hogs
You
would
would do
do
it.
that. They would eat their
Right,
own. They would eat metal. They would
right,
cheat. They would lie. They would steal. They're corrupt.
right. Yo,
Powerful,
like
man.
they say, man, yo, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered, man. And that's what happened.
Woo!
So,
Yo, CJ is
yo,
on fire.
yo, man, you make me feel bad now because I got a couple things I didn't like, but I'm gonna go through them real quick. All right. So first of all, right. So it's not a lot of killing in this film, really. Really,
Mm-mm.
it's not as violent as it could be. Most of the major characters that get killed, you never really see it happen. You don't see them get married. You don't see them get cornbread. You don't see them get Bo. So I thought it was kind of interesting because I was braced for like a bloodbath type of
Mm-hmm.
film, you know what I mean? And it wasn't that, and I just thought that was a little odd. Like it works. I don't like bloody movies, but I was kind of thinking I was going to see a little bit more of that. I talked about Remix joint outside that he was doing. That was just weird for me. I didn't like that. Like
You don't like the
like they
jig,
said in the
yo?
film,
The John
yo,
McClane
like
jig?
like they said, cracker singing in the middle of the night would make everybody nervous. Like that, like that. Listen, that was a good line in the film, right? All right. All right.
Woo!
So the cake and hate, right? So you mentioned Grace. All right. On the one
Yeah.
hand side, I like how Grace is like, we got to kill these things before they
Mm-hmm.
kill everybody else. I agree with that. On the other hand side, her decision to say they could come in, knowing that was going to get everybody killed and inside, was like a what? why did you do that? Like, I understood it, but I was like, what? And it was like a cake and hate moment for me in it. I know you want to say something about it, man. Go ahead.
Let me put it to
I
you
know
like
you want.
this. He said, "Yo, once he said, I now know everything that they know." The first thing I thought of, they're gonna go get that little girl. They're
Yeah,
gonna get
yeah.
his daughter.
That's
And
yes,
I was
yeah,
like, you know what? What would you not sacrifice in order to
yeah,
protect a loved one, especially your child? And then I was
yeah,
like, they got to draw them all in because if they go to the town, that's reinforcements. You ain't overcoming
yeah,
that. Then I'm
yeah,
also thinking like, oh, that's easy. There were people that didn't leave. They just focused on the core people that whose names you knew. But not
yeah.
everybody got out of that juke joint. Some of them
No, they
people
didn't. No, they
stayed.
turned a lot of people that left. Yeah, got taken
Yeah,
out.
you know what
Yeah,
I mean? So like some people were able to leave, some people didn't leave, and you just didn't know, like John Doe, Janie Smith, whatever, they still
yeah,
were inside. So
yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. I just for the story, it has to happen because otherwise, because they That's the climax. Is when
and that's where the action comes from.
Yeah, and I get it, but it just seemed like, dang, like.
I know, I get it. Like, why you go and do something like that?
Yeah,
yo?
why you do that? Like, you got everybody killed, man. You got everybody in this joint killed. You got Annie killed. You got Annie killed. You got Perlene killed. You got Delta Slim killed. She got herself killed. She got everybody. No, but
she went out in a blaze of glory though. Like she got both, and she was burning, and she still stayed there. Like, yo, eternal flame. That's why I was like, yo, a lot of the symbolism, dog. I'm telling you. A lot of symbolism.
That? Good point. All right, man. Let's get into the questions, man. I got questions for you, man. All right. I got a fave 5 for you, man. All right. First question. So, like, of course, Stack and Mary survive at the end, right? In 1992, you saw Stack with the
Coogee sweater.
With the Coogee sweater on.
Yo, and he had the 4-finger ring.
The 4-finger ring. How about it? How about it, man? How about
and he had the Cartier glasses on some Biggie stuff.
How about it, man? Styled up, man. Yo, that. By the way, them brothers look smooth the whole movie, man.
Ooh, yeah, they did.
How about it?
Maybe I want to go get a suit, yo.
Right. How about it? Right. And that's Mississippi, right? So it's like Mississippi. It's got to be 90 degrees, and you're there with
a But they walking around with that cotton suit on, though, yo.
Gotta have it.
Not that polyester.
Gotta have it, right? Like, all right. So here's my question: is this? Would you want to see a sequel with Stack and Mary?
Yo, this movie got me hyped. I'd accept anything from them, but I don't want it to tarnish. I'd feel so bad if they let me down. I'm conflicted, man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm conflicted because I would love to see the adventures of them for the past 60 years and them, going through the various stages and changes in their wardrobe and, the mentality and how you see this interracial couple and they look at them like, we ain't
How about that? Yeah, that would be evil loving.
Or some evil loving.
Evil loving. That's what that would be like.
Kind of like Hancock, but not like Hancock. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Good
that's
reference,
why I'm like, I'd love to see that, man. But they would. I'd be afraid that they'd let me down, like it would be subpar or something. So,
okay, all right. Next question, and I know this is a lot, man, but you know what? I'm gonna give it to you because I feel like you can answer this question. What is Coogler saying about the blues and about the church in Sinners? I know this is a big question. I know it's a big question, but you're missing
the audience will have to forgive me if this is a little truncated, all right, because we can't spend too much time on this joint. But I will say this. They're two sides of the same coin. They're extensions of one another. They tap into the soul aspect of individuals. And I mean, like, it's deeply innate within us to look, music operates off of a certain frequency, off of a vibration. So there's a literal meaning as to why you are moved by the spirit when you're in church, when they're giving testimonies, or when the clergy and the congregation are either singing along or vibing along. And the music is obvious. I don't know anything that doesn't have a soundtrack to it, from what may now be deemed as inappropriate corporal punishment. Because I know I've only been hit 2 times in my life, and I remember both of them. And both times I was getting hit to a rap music because my parents were like, "Don't you ever!" And that's nothing worse than getting hit to a soundtrack. I'll tell you that, right? That's why I only took it 2 times.
You hear the
Yo, and the belt. I'm sorry, I got hit with a belt. It straightened me out. So I'm just talking about me, and I'm telling you like this: that belt was the drums, and all you heard was doo, 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 and I was like, "Yo." Me even screaming was on tune. I'm gonna tell you like that. I'm crying on beat. That? Like that was the cymbals, like everything. Yo, I ain't traumatized. I just remember it like it was enough to scare me straight. Yo, trust me. I'll tell you like that. So I'm just saying, like there is a meeting of the minds between the music and also the church. Yo.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. Here's my next question, man. All right. It's a 2-part. First question is, do you have a favorite vampire movie? Right? Outside of Sinners.
Yeah, I do.
Do you have a favorite vampire movie? And if so, what is it, man?
Yeah. Shout out to my middle brother. I'm the oldest of 3. And he used to love this movie called The Lost Boys. Now, for those that don't know,
The Lost Boys is the jam,
this is with Kiefer Sutherland. This is with both Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. This is a movie where, like, literally, You see these rowdy dudes, and you could substitute them for any type of dude. They just happen to be punksters, rock and rollers, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Kiefer Sutherland is the leader of them all, right? And he delivers this line to Jason Patrick where he says, you want to become one of us, whatever, whatever, but you must feed. And they're walking over the top and they're wiping their mouths and stuff. That left a lasting imprint on me, man. To this day, like when you say vampires, I see Kiefer Sutherland with blonde, spiky hair. Boys. Yeah, I think of Lost Boys, man. And
man,
he's when the scene when dude is like, garlic don't work, boys, and he's like, try holy water, and they start this dude, and he's shaking everything like, yo, it's Lost Boys, man. It's Lost Boys.
Man, the Lost Boys, that I love that film, man. I remember seeing that with my cousin. We were just up late watching on HBO. Didn't know we were watching. Scared to death. You ever be so scared you can't turn it off? That's how scared we were watching it, man. Yeah. But that's a great one, man. Great
and I don't normally mess with horror movies. This was CJ's pick, and I was like, "Nah, man, there's gonna be violence and blood sucking. I ain't gonna be able to sleep." And, thank you, sir, for recommending this joint.
So that's a perfect segue to my last question, because I've seen online a lot of people are asking other people, is this movie too scary? Is it too violent? Is it something that I should not see? Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Will, if somebody were to ask you that, what would you tell them in terms of whether or not they should see this film?
Oh, first of all, I'd be saying that this is a cinematic masterpiece where I would focus in on the historical aspects, where you're literally going through a kaleidoscope of emotions. You're transported back in time. You're made to come back to the present, and you're able to project into the future of where things could lead to on a multitude of levels, whether it be culturally, sexually, gender, age, you name it. It covers every ism under the spectrum. Yeah. The aspect of the vampires is merely a metaphor for the drainage of your life source, your life resources, of everything that you've been able to produce by your own hands. This whole theme of streets being paved with gold, this movie has that because they use literal gold pieces. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. This movie has that. Understanding the pact you make with the devil. This movie has that. They say, they go in, they're like, yo, do your due diligence. Hey, what was this? This was recently cleaned. What was this floor? What was originally what this street was for?
Slaughterhouse, yep.
Dude, this movie is beyond vampirism. This movie is that's a minute aspect of it. They could have exchanged that for zombies. They could have exchanged it for the Terminator and the rise of the machines. Doesn't matter. That's just the vehicle that Ryan Coogler chose to emphasize his point.
Well said, man. That's my questions, man. Questions, man. What you got for me?
Look, man. I'm going to sound a little bit different, but here we go. I'm just saying, I'm going to be a little bit different, but here we go. Are monsters born, made, or chosen? And I need to frame this a certain way, so here we go. You're juxtaposing this whole literal monster with Remick. Like, this is something that's clear and obvious, all right? Cool. But now we're talking about the metaphorical, the figurative monsters that are created, whether it be due to police violence or just violence as a whole, whether it be war or systemic racism or oppression. What is it about this that blurs the line between the supernatural of evil and such, and also the basic human darkness that lies within everyone?
Yeah. Great question. Especially because, like you said, there's so many different examples of monsters in this film, right? Hogwood and the clan are monsters, right? Self-made, right? Remick is a monster, right? Who makes other monsters.
Yes.
And you could even argue that in a way, the twins are monsters because they have this reputation for killing and destroying like that, like Stat killed his own father. You know what I'm saying?
But he's protecting his brother, though.
Right. Yes. But still, right. They're killed. Right. They're all that. What I think is interesting is where Sammy lands. Sammy is told that his playing the music is going to bring the devil to him. When the devil actually comes, or the devil in the form of Remick, he actually fights against that.
Mm,
And then he actually ends up not being in the mix, even to the point where he's protected from Stack
mm.
and Mary, even at the end, right? Based on what the agreement that Stack and Smoke make. I'm saying all that to say is monsters are all those things, right?
Mm.
But you as a person don't have to become a monster. You can choose something different. Even one of the best scenes in the film was when Smoke. Remember when Smoke tells Sammy, "I don't even want you around us.
Yeah.
Don't. I
The,
don't want you playing this music. I don't want you to be around these. I don't want you to be around people like me.
he even told him to go
Leave."
to where that town where
Right, right. Smoke was trying to look out for him the whole time because what he doesn't want you to be around the monster so long that you don't even realize that you became one. So yeah, I think like yeah, you can be all of those things, man, but you can also you don't have to be. And I think that's the like you're I know you love redemption. Like the redemptive part of it is that in the end, that's not where Samuel lands out. It ends up.
you know what? This boy is on, no, this man is on fire. I keep saying it, but like he's heating up. If you remember the game, he's
Yo,
heating up.
NBA Live, man.
Yeah.
NBA Live. No, yeah, no, it wasn't NBA Live. What was the
No,
joint
it's
with
not
the
NBA
two
Live.
the dunk? NBA. We have to think about it. We got what's the next question, man?
Yeah. All right. So my next question for CJ is, how do generational trauma and historical violence haunt not just individuals but entire communities? There's a word for it. It's called um man, I just drew a blank. It
Why are you
starts with
thinking?
an E. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
Nonetheless, the setup is this is in Jim Crow South
Yeah.
epigenics,
Yeah.
and they're talking about the film using the vampire's invasion as a metaphor for predatory practices and the nature of
Yep.
oppression, the
Yeah.
colonization, if you will, the inherent pain that comes with that. So again, how does that generational trauma and historical violence haunt not just the individual but the entire community?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like they say that let's say like we are our ancestors reborn, right? We carry
Mm,
within us the spiritual memory of our ancestors, of your great grandfather, of your great 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 grandfather, and what they experienced. In this movie, Delta Slim is the living embodiment of that trauma. This is a man who chooses to be drunk all the time because he
drink away
can't
the
cope with
pain.
the pain of what he has experienced. The pain of seeing his best friend be hung, the pain of being pulled over and being put in chains by police officer, by any random white man saying you don't belong here, and so now you're gone. He has to carry that with him. And the only way he can survive is by being drunk all the time. How many people do we see like that in real life now? That there's listen, America's filled with Delta Slims. People that have
Mm.
who have nothing but what I can drink, what I can smoke, what I can shoot in my veins because the pain of this reality and how I've been marginalized and oppressed by it and how I've suffered by it. And not just me, but generations before me of my people has left me where, like Delta Slim says, man, all I can hope for is, enough corn liquor to stay as drunk as I can be.
And he knew the dude on the chain gang too. That's why I told him to slow
He did. He
down.
knew all them dudes, man.
I'm gonna put it to you like this: shout out to Prodigy and Havoc, rest in peace, P. I think the whole world's going insane. I fill my brain up with Zany and drink away the pain.
How about it? Yeah. That's
Shout
where
out
it
to
is,
Bob.
man. Yo, that's man. It's so much in this film, man.
Yeah, it
All right,
is.
what's next, man?
So, what happens when the thing you've been running from is also the very same thing that can save you?
Yeah. This is what I think the meaning. I think what Ryan Coogler is trying to say in this. And once again, I'm gonna go back to Sammy's character. Sammy is sort of trying to run away from the church, right? And he wants to. He just like he's a young man. He wants to have his life, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the things that his father is saying, he's right about. The people that he's around, they are killers. They are philanderers. They are liars. And Sammy gets in that. But in the end, the thing that saves him, gives him that moment for Stack to get there, is when he hits Remick in the head
The
with that
very thing,
guitar
very
that was
thing.
sitting in the church, that is sitting there that his dad took from him. That was the thing. And that's why I think when it's all said and done, Sammy goes back to the church. That's as soon as he leaves, he goes back to the church Sunday morning, but he doesn't give up the guitar because that's his way of saying to his dad, like, yeah, but I can't give this up because the truth is, the blues, like Delta Slim said, the blues is what we had. The religion is what they gave us. That's powerful. That's powerful, right? You need all of those things. It's not just there's no one way, one stop shop to freedom or to liberation. You need all of these things together if you're going to get yourself free, man.
Yo, first of all, Get Yourself Free is the title of Dead President's initial inaugural
Let's get free.
album.
Yeah, let's get free. Yeah, I was thinking about it as I said it, man.
So these y'all are missing jewels if you're not really if you're not in. Oh man, this dude is and CJ was right. It's NBA Jam. So that's
NBA Jam. That's it. Yeah. NBA Jam with the dunk. Oh, I used to love that joint, man.
Yo.
I go crazy with the Charlotte Hornets in that joint, man.
So we definitely go with that. My last question for you is, what role does music play in healing, survival, and spiritual resistance?
Yeah, yo, you hit on it, man, earlier when you were talking about the music, like the church. Like, yo, we're doing this on Easter, Resurrection Sunday, man. So many people, the battery that they get in their back to help them get through another 6 days is that 2 hours or 5 hours that you spend sitting in church listening to those songs, listening to God will, listening to shower down, listening to praise is what I do. Those are the things that get you through, man. That's real. And if you've ever been to a bembe, if you've ever been to a spiritual ceremony, those drums is what gets you there. Mm-hmm. Those drums is what lets those things know, those luau, those orisha, those necharu, that's what lets those things know, hey man, we creating a space for you to come and help us because we trying to get through this reality. And this thing is hard out here, man. It's vampires out here, man. We need help, right? So this is real. This is real stuff, man. Like music is the weapon, man. Fela Kuti tried to tell you, man. That the dumb, like Rizzo said, yo, the dumb are mostly intrigued by the drum. It's so much more than that, man. The music is what gives you those ideas. Think about how you can be in your car and a certain song will come on. It'll change your whole attitude, your whole chemistry. It'll change your whole mind state will shift just off hearing something. Just like, I mean, like we love Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep puts me in that mode to do anything. I'll be ready to flip over a desk at my job, man. Listen to Mobb Deep, right? Like, how does that do that, man? That's what the music does, man. So many people, man, you get up in the morning, they driving to work, listening to gospel music because that's how they're going to survive that day, man. Mm-hmm. Listen, and the blues, dang, man. The blues, think about how the blues helped our people to get through and to survive, man. Against slavery, against Jim Crow, against oppression, against sharecropping, against the Klan, redistricting, all these things that we face, man. The music is what allows us to feel like a human. It gives us a moment where we feel free. Sorry, I know I'm on a tangent right now, but this is what it is, man.
Nah.
This is what it is.
It needs to be said. I'm a piggyback on that joint. The juke joint in this movie symbolized culture. It symbolized hope. Because these dudes were trying to not only start a business, but they were trying to give back to their people. They were trying to get in touch with their roots. Simultaneously, this became not only a refuge, but it was a battleground. Like they were literally saying like this is our line in the sand. And Smoke went so far as to say like, yo, if the Klan comes back, yo, this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm letting you know the terms. This is my declaration of war. If you violate this is what it is.
Right. Smoke stayed for them to come.
That's why I said, he
went to the trunk. He got the trunk. He got to the trunk and he said, look, they coming back. I'm going to make sure I get them.
And not just that. Think about how many times people are like, yo, don't let me pop the trunk. Beatnut said, pop the trunk.
How about that reference?
In the back.
About that reference?
Yo, or even reference? Big Pun. Packing the Mac in the back of the act. Yo, like, yo, dudes tell you, like, yo, don't make me pop the switch. Yo, because
the reference points, man. Yo, it's such
50 Cent. Right, get the switch.
There it is, right? Yeah, right. Get the strap. Yeah, right. Yo. Get the strap. Yo, all right. So, Mr. Will, man, popcorn boxes.
I already said it, man. Five
popcorn boxes. So, when we came up with the system of these popcorn boxes to rate movies, I remember in the beginning we used to say 5 is like, if you didn't see it, we look at you sideways. Yo. That's where this is for me. Mm-hmm. If I talk to somebody like 2-3 months from now and I'm like, yo, did you see Sinners? You're like, no, I ain't gonna see it. dog, I'm not talking to you about movies no more.
Nah.
If you don't see this, I can't talk to you about films. I can't talk to you about that. You want to talk about sports? We talk about sports. We can talk politics, something else. We can't talk about
We can't talk
movies
about movies.
if you don't watch this.
Nah.
That's where it is. All right, man. Let's get into the hot takes, man. I'm gonna pass it to you first, Mr. Will. What's the hot take, man?
Yo, I don't have hot takes. I have a series of just one-liners. So this is a new
Right.
this is a new genre, period.
Okay.
And in that genre,
A new genre of film. Okay.
Yeah, this new genre of film. And I think it is the amalgamation. Like the joint that you always kid on me about, but I think it's this. So it's like the horror, the biographical, autobiographical, horror, spiritual, church-going, action, thriller, suspense, whatever you want to call this.
It's all those.
Get Out has that. So there's only two people in that space. Get Out and this. It may borrow some elements of like Quentin Tarantino's what you call it?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn. And it may borrow from, you know, any other vampire movie, Eddie Murphy's Vampire in Brooklyn, because there's black vampires. Whatever. There's two movies in this space, and they both have very overlapping qualities and traits that are clearly and distinguishably identical. Next joint I'm running with is, this is definitely one of, if not the best movie of the past 20 years, hands down, easily. Wow. The next thing is, and CJ and I have talked about this redundantly, but I think I need to say it again. The movie essentially capsulizes like the trauma of black people, and any so-called minority hops onto that bandwagon by utilizing our struggle. Don't believe me? Yep. Peep game. No shade to anyone, but we laid the blueprint for peaceful protests. It's very hard and indistinguishable to see someone, your oppressor, beating you, sicking dogs on you, water hoses, shooting you, lynching you, and you're not doing anything. You can garner sympathy. You can garner empathy. You can garner compassion by not doing anything. Don't believe me? Rodney King got his butt whooped on live screen. And for the longest during that period, people did not believe that black people were getting traumatized and legally lynched. Don't believe me again? Tamir Rice, any of the countless people who have been murdered by the police. You want to talk about a gang? Well, there you have it. And then last but not least, I'm just going to throw out the etymology of the word sinners. The word sinner in English originates from Middle East Cynere, and I'll spell that for you. That's Synnere, which combines the verb sin, meaning to commit a sin, the act of sinning, with the suffix er, indicating a person who performs the action. The word sin itself comes from the Old English word sin, S-Y-N-N, meaning offense or misdeed, ultimately tracing back to Proto-Germanic roots related to truth or guilt. There's a Latin term meaning anything left-handed, left being, you know, if you went to a Catholic school or a Christian school, they'd smack you on the wrist for using your left hand because the right way to do things is with the right hand. Going back to medieval times, because there was no such thing as toilet paper, people would use their left hand to wipe their arse. And in turn, you would shake with your right hand to show that you were not holding a sword, because your right hand was your sword hand, your dominant hand. Sinners.
Sinners. He says, so mic drop. You just dropped the mic. Sinners. Yo, man. All right. So my hot take is, you mentioned Tamir Rice, right? And you talked about, you know, obviously this young man was killed by the police, right? My hot take is Ryan Coogler has been telling stories that have allowed
to wipe their arse. And in turn, you would shake with your right hand to show that you were not holding a sword, because your right hand was your sword hand, your dominant hand. Sinners.
Sinners. He says, so mic drop. You just dropped the mic. Sinners. Yo, man. All right. So my hot take is, you mentioned Tamir Rice, right? And you talked about, you know, obviously this young man was killed by the police, right? My hot take is Ryan Coogler has been telling stories that have allowed, I'm going to say, black people to think about ancestors and ancestor veneration in a corporate setting that has not been done before. This man started with Fruitvale Station talking about Oscar Grant killed by the police. He goes on to Black Panther, which deals with somebody dealing with the loss of their father, but has the ability to go to the spirit world to see them. Then he comes back with Black Panther 2, which allows that person's sister then to try to reconnect with them because they've passed away, also through the spirit world. And now in Sinners, he gives us this slightly biographical story of Robert Leroy Johnson, who was a blues singer who is said to have made a deal at the crossroads with something called maybe the devil, something called maybe a legba or a legbara or eshu, which ironically is like ESU, and you can put a J and S on the end of that and it spells something different at the crossroads. But anyway, to the side, he's telling you these stories that are giving people a chance to reconnect with these ideas, with these concepts, and do it in an unapologetic way. And he is Sammy. He is bridging that gap. He is giving you the future of Wakanda with the past of Clarksdale, Mississippi. In his catalog of movies, he's showing you the past and the future. My hot take is Ryan Coogler is Sammy, man. He's telling you the story about what he's doing, the gateways and pathways as he's opening up for you to try to get yourself free.
It's powerful.
That's what it is.
We're going to call this the CJ show, folks.
Listen, that's the Sticky Floor show, man. And that's our breakdown of Sinners, right? We spent some more time with it. We could have spent more. Trust me. If we'd have did this a year from now, the show would have been like 3 hours. We'd take breaks and everything, right? We didn't do that. But listen, this is a movie. Go out and see this. Get some people with you to go see it with you.
Oh, yeah.
This is one that people are going to be talking about for a long time. Once again, man, shout out to Mr. Will tonight for this one, man. I know we went all the way in on this. We'll be back next week.